What's up everyone, it's Marco from PhoneDog.com, and many of you guys are already well aware that the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is almost upon us. I mean, it comes around September, it's always at IFA Berlin, and we're only a few weeks away where Samsung will reveal the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, usually the powerhouse of the Android flagship devices of each year. I mean, the Note 1, 2, 3 have been extremely powerful with quad-core processor, tons of gigabytes of RAM and tons of display size and resolution. So this time around, we're not really expecting anything less than that. We're expecting to get our minds blown with specs. We're talking about more quad-core processors, a Quad HD display, possibly a redesign, and even some new materials. So welcome to the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is coming right here at PhoneDog.com. So I've been doing these types of videos really at the last minute just because I want to get as much information about these devices before I make a video about speculation because, well, as of right now, I have no clue what the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 will be officially, but I have a pretty good idea of what it will have compared from the leaks to the rumors, the specs, and really how the market has been going. So first of all, let's talk about the big form factor of the Samsung Galaxy Note. I mean, this is the Note 3. It's a 5.7-inch display. It's 1080p. It's a pretty massive phone, and the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is going to be around the same size. I'm actually saying it's going to stay at 5.7 inches because 6 inches is a little too big. It's kind of like a Galaxy Mega. 5.7 is a great size for this kind of phablet space. You might see a smaller bezel around the sides and the tops and bottom, but obviously you're probably going to see the fingerprint scanner reader, and you're also going to have a heart rate monitor kind of placed on the back, kind of following the Samsung Galaxy S5. But we're going to have about the same form factor. Now, the next thing to talk about is going to be the materials that Samsung will be using on the brand new Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Now, if you've been under a rock, the new Galaxy Alpha, just released about 5 days ago, is a completely brand new device from Samsung, most likely going to stay in Korea, but it's kind of a tuned down flagship device with a metal build called the Galaxy Alpha. Now, I'm not really expecting to see the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 entirely made out of different materials. Most likely it's going to follow the Samsung Galaxy S5 with that kind of rubberized and dimpled looking backing. Now, if it does have a metal back, that would be completely impressive, and it would look a lot better than the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 with this kind of faux leather that kind of feels it feels really cheap and feels really weird. It doesn't just really feel high quality at all in the hand. So I'm still going to say it's going to be the same material as the Samsung Galaxy S5, perhaps a little bit of a re-envision of it, since a lot of people really don't like how the Samsung Galaxy S5 looks. So maybe Samsung has took that to heart and made a different looking device, or possibly a metal device. That would be awesome. Samsung, make the Galaxy Note 4 out of metal, aluminum, do anything to make it more premium, and that's exactly what I want. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the specs. One of the biggest parts of the Samsung Galaxy Note line has been really great specs, and I'm talking about overpowering the device just for the hell of it. We're talking about quad-core processing, we're talking about extra gigabytes of RAM, talking maybe 3 to 4 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, this guy has 3 gigabytes of RAM, we're talking about 4 gigabytes. Think about that. I mean, that's what my MacBook Air has originally, is 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the quad-core processor we're going to have is the 805 Snapdragon processor. For international models, we're going to have the Exynos octa-core processor chipset. So it means basically 2 quad-core chips kind of wired next to each other. Now, we're not going to see that in the US because that does not support LTE bands that we have here in the US. Now, in terms of GPU performance, we're probably going to see the next generation chipset from Adreno, basically just a little bit faster from the Galaxy Note 3, but generally a much better experience. Now, the next big thing about the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is going to be the display. Now, the Galaxy Note 3 has a 1080p Super AMOLED display. It's quite a vivid display. It's really beautiful. It's very oversaturated, and it's just massive, and it looks really pretty to the eye. Now, the Galaxy Note 4 is expected to have a Quad HD display over the 500 pixels per inch range. It's around 510, I believe, and it's going to be Super AMOLED. Now, that's unlike the LG's G3 IPS LCD panel. It's going to be like the Samsung Galaxy S5 LTE-A edition with its own 2K Super AMOLED display. Now, I've seen it for myself, and it looks really really, really clean, and I'm sure it's going to look just as good on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Next, I want to talk about the optics and camera system found on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. But first, let me talk about the Samsung Galaxy S5 because it's a great way to base what the Note 4 will have. Now, the S5 has a 16 megapixel camera sensor that records 4K UHD video. It does not have OIS, but it takes really stunning HD video and 4K video and awesome, really good photos. Now, it's a very good camera, and I really liked it a lot. Had really good praises, and it's still one of the best mobile phone cameras in 2014, but the Galaxy Note 4 is going to really trump it because it's going to have perhaps a 16 or higher megapixel count. I'm thinking around 16 to 19 megapixels with sweet spots around 18 there. And in addition to a very high megapixel count, we're going to have optical image stabilization just like the LG G3, plus some really neat features for 4K video. I'm talking about DCI, 4K UHD, 1080p at 60 frames, and 720p at a slower 120 frames for some really cool slow motion. We're probably going to have more additions to like panorama and burst shots, just a generally better system, and we might even have a trick for an autofocus, kind of like the laser autofocus, but with Samsung's own software and trickery, so it might be just what we need in terms of the ultimate Samsung camera. Now, the S5 takes great photos and videos, but I just want OIS, and the Galaxy Note 4 may just deliver OIS and its own camera. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is be pricing, storage, and availability. Now, pricing I want to start out with, it's going to be on the high side, just like all the other Samsung Note models. It's going to be around $299 for the 16 gigabyte model on contract. Off contract will be around $799 off contract for all the 4 major carriers. Not exactly sure what the pricing setup is for international carriers like in UK and also in the Asias and Korea. But in terms of storage, there'll be a 16 and 32 gigabyte model. I'm not really seeing why a 64 gigabyte model is really needed because there is micro SD card expandability in all the Note models from Note 2, Note 3, and the availability, well, that's kind of be a hard question because, well, the event is on September 3rd here in the US. I'll be there to attend. I'll be looking for the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 with hands-on videos and versus videos. And generally, Samsung takes about a week to 2 weeks to really release their devices worldwide, probably starting in the US and Korea. Korea might be just the same day. So I say availability for the US market is going to be late September to maybe even early October, depending on how fast they can make these new 2K panels. So that about wraps up the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. I mean, it's going to be one heck of a device, really packed to the gills with specs, really packed to the gills with all the latest technologies, and it's going to be one great device for Samsung. Now, the only concern that I have for the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is going to be the design of the Note 4 because I'm not a big fan of the Note 3 and how that looked, and I really wasn't a big fan of a Note 1 and 2. I just want a more premium Samsung Galaxy Note, more of the lines of the Samsung Galaxy Alpha with flagship specs. I mean, the Alpha is great, but it doesn't have the specs to meet or match what the greatness Samsung can make. So make the Note 4 with Galaxy Alpha with really awesome specs, and that would be one sick Galaxy Note 4. So if you guys have any questions about the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, make sure to leave me a comment below, or you can send them directly to me on Twitter to @PhoneDog_Marco. And if you're awesome enough, please hit that subscribe button and a thumbs up button. And my name is Marco Hanna from PhoneDog.com, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.